right, so I just finished up like a consultation call with Brandon. Brandon, this video is for you. Brandon was like, "How do I change?" Right? We were talking about marketing and marketing can be fairly complex. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the first half of this video to explain to Brandon how he can shift some of his marketing and his messaging, right? Because at the end, we came up, it was like, okay, here's what the problem is. And I want to communicate one particular thing so he can understand what's happening, right? So I'm going to do a quick screen share. I'm going to do my entire screen over here, and let's go with that. All right, so I'm going to do a screen share, and I want to communicate one particular thing. I'm going to do that is I'm going to draw, right? I'm going to draw my whiteboard to see if I can help you understand the importance of making this shift in your messaging, right? And I have the message in mind, but I want to get, let's see, let's do. All right. So yeah, I want to get us some music going. All right. All right, Brandon. So here's how I want you to think about. I want you to think about the people that you showed me, and I want you to think about this, right? You hear, like, you've been around long enough to understand that people buy emotionally and justify logically, right? So let me show you how you can help people do the same thing with you and with you. Okay, so do a screen share and let's go with this, right? So these are my kids' drawings. Let's see. I want to kind of use those. I want to kind of use this stuff as an example, right? So, all right, Brandon, here we go. Oh, shoot. So let's copy this. Copy that and move over. All right, so here we go, Brandon. We have you, and then we have, the best way I can communicate this is going with another character, right? So got one character here, right? And then we got Brandon here, one of these, and we got the competitor. We got competitors as one. So let's just say this is Brandon. Brandon, this is you, and you have an avatar, and the avatar they kind of look like you, right? And this is your competitor, and they have an avatar, and their avatar looks like this, right? So what do I want to communicate, right? We have Brandon up here, and then we have a competitor down here, right? So let's get some labels in to make this a little bit easier. Okay. The biggest point I want to make here is that how people justify their purchases, right? So we've got Brandon, then we've got a competitor, right? We've got Brandon, then we got a competitor down here. All right, so here we have Brandon, here we have a competitor. So Brandon has competitor has an avatar, right? And Brandon has an avatar over here. So Brandon, when we talk, Brandon told me that he has 2 avatars, right? So when you have 2 avatars, you have 2 targets, right? Competitor down here has 1 avatar, right? And something that I want to really point out to, this is probably the biggest point that I want to make to you, Brandon, is Brandon said he has an avatar. He has a black avatar, right? So we're gonna call this the black avatar. This is black, this is black, this is black, right? Brandon is a Spanish avatar, and Brandon says, I have 2 avatars, right? So Brandon is sending out messaging. He's doing all this awesome stuff, great content, great teaching, great everything. And then it's time for the avatars to buy, right? So we got these 2 avatars, and it's time for them to buy. And when they get to the end of Brandon's messaging, they're like, okay, I'm excited. What should I do? I should buy, right? And Brandon's like, guys, we're alike, we're the same. You should buy from me, right? But Mr. Black Avatar here is looking at Brandon like, wait a minute, It's not like me, right? And even if it doesn't look exactly the same, right? I'm oversimplifying and making a point. Even if it doesn't look exactly the same, this avatar right here is still looking at Brandon like, wait, something's not right here. We don't look alike, right? We might be the same. We might have the same backgrounds. We might have some same experiences, but this person doesn't really look like me. So I'm not really connecting here, right? This avatar is not really connecting. However, this avatar is like, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen. So Brandon, your messaging is going to two different avatars, right? So you got two different messages, right? And we know it's like more than two messages, but we got two different messages and that communicates two different things. Now, if we go down here with the competitor for Brandon, this avatar has one message and that's it, right? This has one message, and just because you have one message doesn't mean you can't communicate to other people and other avatars. So the biggest point that I want to make here, Brandon, is that we need to change the messaging, which is like a little more complicated than, oh, change the copy or change the creative, right? That's why I couldn't give it to you immediately on that call, because it requires a little bit more than that, right? So the most immediate thing, the most immediate thing that you can do, Brandon, is you can increase the volume, right? So we were getting about 50 people to the webinar. What I would like you to do is I would like to see maybe 200 people, right? So we can increase those numbers, right? We get a 3% conversion, 2% conversion of 200. 2% of 200 is 4. 3% of 200 is 6, right? So we're starting to, the math is starting to make sense. Whereas when we just do 50, it's not enough people, right? So that's the first and the most immediate thing that I want you to do. But the high level strategy that I want you to do is I want you to focus on changing your avatar. And I want you to eliminate this avatar here, right? We're not saying that you have to get rid of this one completely, but what I want you to do in the beginning is to focus on just this one, right? Because the thing that you showed me with your competitors, they were focused on one specific avatar, right? When we were watching your messaging, it was broad to a certain broad audience, and it was too broad. Even if it's only two avatars, it's too broad, right? And the other thing about the avatar is like, we have an influence on our avatar. Like your avatar and the people that you're attracting, they are younger, right? And I don't say this with any malice or ill intent or to be negative or derogatory, but younger audiences don't have as much money as older audiences. And those avatars that you showed me, right? Those competitors that you showed me, their audience and their avatars are a little bit older. So that's a high level strategy, right? Those older people have money to invest into a product, right? Whereas the younger avatars, they don't. They're still trying to get on their feet. They're still trying to get things together. So one of the things that you mentioned was that they don't have the money. And I don't think that is what the real issue is. But if that's what the real issue is, and then it's communicating to us the same thing, right? We still need to change the avatar, and we still need to change who we're targeting and who we're going after, right? So the biggest thing here is to change that messaging and change that avatar, right? That's a high level strategy. And the lower, like the tactical thing that you can do to increase is you need more traffic, right? So we need, instead of 50 people attending a webinar, I want to see 200 people attending that webinar. So we can have more numbers to play with, and that should increase your bottom line almost immediately. But what we're going to run into is a money problem, like a math problem, right? Because at that price point, we're not going to be able to do too much. And I know you have some examples of some people, but you can do much better at a different price point. So a really good example would be if you install something where you charge $5,000 instead of $997, you have more room to play, right? And then let's just say you hit $5,000 per week. That's one sale per week versus you having to do 20 sales per week. And it's much easier to do business in those numbers, and the math makes much more sense. So Brandon, high level, what I would like you to do is I would like you to switch your messaging, and I want you to start thinking about your avatar, right? And fixing the message for the avatar, right? I told you a little bit earlier, I was like, we might have to flip your business upside down. But what that means is we're going to have to change the avatar. And that means we got to change the different things, right? So overall high level strategy, we're going to change that avatar, right? That's what we would do in the background. And the immediate thing that we would do right now, and all of the data is pointing to, like, this is what we have to do, right? Based on what we have so far, is increase the numbers, right? So get more traffic, spend more money to get more people into that webinar, so you can pick up some, so you can pick up more sales. Now, beyond that, one more thing that I would like to see you do, and I think you could do really well with beyond just the webinar, is I want you to do just a straight up case study, right? Do a case study demonstrating like some results that you've gotten for someone and drop them straight to the offer at $9.97. If you're going to be selling that offer at $9.97, case study directly to the offer. You don't need that entire webinar. You can do it and that will help, but I would do case study directly to the offer, and anybody that doesn't purchase the offer, then I would give them the webinar. Okay, so I appreciate you watching. I hope to see you on the inside.